Hi, family. This is day 16 of our Reading Through the Bible Together in a Year series. Today we're covering Genesis chapters 49 and 50, which closes the book of Genesis, and then we get to start Exodus chapter 1. So, what we had yesterday was that Jacob's descendants move into the land of Goshen and they settle as shepherds of livestock. At this point, they're at peace with Egypt. But what we see at the end of yesterday was that Jacob, as he's about to die, he sends for Joseph, and Joseph brings his sons Ephraim and Manasseh in. Jacob basically adopts Ephraim and Manasseh into his family, and which we kind of see how this plays out later on, because we know that there are 12 sons of Israel, but later on there's 13 tribes if you consider Levi a tribe in itself, and none of those are Joseph, right? There's Ephraim and Manasseh are tribes of Israel, and so we kind of see the connection there. But let's see how today pans out. And Yaakov sent for his sons and said, "Come together, all of you, so that I may give you news of your fate in future times. Come near, O sons of Yaakov, and give ear to the words of Yisrael your father. Reuven, you are my oldest son, the first fruit of my strength, first in pride and first in power. But because you are uncontrolled, the first place will not be yours. For you went up to your father's bed, even his bride bed, and made it unclean. Shimon and Levi are brothers. Deceit and force are their secret designs. Take no part in their secrets, O my soul. Keep far away, O my heart, from their meetings. For in their wrath they put men to death, and for their pleasure even oxen were wounded. A curse on their passion, for it was bitter, and on their wrath, for it was cruel. I will let their heritage in Yaakov be broken up, driving them from their places in Israel. To you, Yehuda, will your brothers give praise. Your hand will be on the neck of your haters. Your father's sons will go down to the earth before you. Yehuda is a young lion. Like a lion full of meat, you have become great, my son. Now he takes his rest like a lion stretched out, and like an old lion. By whom will his sleep be broken? The rod of authority will not be taken from Yehuda, and he will not be without a lawgiver, till he comes who has the right to it, and the peoples will put themselves under his rule, knotting his donkey's cord to the vine, and his young donkeys to the best vine, washing his robe in wine, and his clothing in the blood of grapes. His eyes will be dark with wine, and his teeth white with milk. The resting place of Zebulun will be by the sea, and he will be a harbor for ships. The edge of his land will be by Zidon. Yisachar is a strong donkey, stretched out among the flocks, and he saw that rest was good and the land was pleasing. So he let them put weights on his back and became a servant. Dan will be the judge of his people, as one of the tribes of Israel. May Dan be a snake in the way, a horned snake by the road, biting the horse's foot, so that the horseman has a fall. I have been waiting for your salvation, O Lord. God, an army will come against him, but he will come down on them in their flight. Asher's bread is fat, he gives delicate food for kings. Naphtali is a roe let loose, giving fair young ones. Yosef is a young ox, whose steps are turned to the fountain. He was troubled by the archers, they sent out their arrows against him, cruelly wounding him. But their bows were broken by a strong one, and the cords of their arms were cut by the strength of Yaakov, by the name of the stone of Israel. Even by the God of your father, who will be your help, and by the ruler of all, who will make you full with blessings from heaven on high, blessings of the deep stretched out under the earth, blessings of the breasts and of the fertile body, blessings of sons, old and young, to the Father, blessings of the oldest mountains and the fruit of the eternal hills. Let them come on the head of Yosef, on the crown of him who was separate from his brothers. Benjamin is a wolf, searching for meat. In the morning he takes his food, and in the evening he makes division of what he has taken. These are the 12 tribes of Israel, and these are the words their father said to them, blessing them. To everyone he gave his blessing. And he gave orders to them, saying, Put me to rest with my people and with my fathers in the hollow of the rock in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the rock in the field of Machpelah near Mamre in the land of Canaan, which Abraham got from Ephron the Hittite to be his resting place. There Abraham and Sarah his wife were put to rest, and there they put Yitzhak and Rivkah his wife, and there I put Leah to rest, in the rock in the field which was got for a price from the people of Heth. And when Yaakov had come to the end of these words to his sons, stretching himself on his bed, he gave up his spirit and went the way of his people. And Yosef put his head down on his father's face, weeping and kissing him. And Yosef gave orders to his servants, who had the necessary knowledge, to make his father's body ready, folding it in linen with spices as they did so. And the 40 days needed for making the body ready went by, and there was weeping for him among the Egyptians for 70 days. And when the days of weeping for him were past, Yosef said to the servants of Pharaoh, "If now you have love for me, say these words to Pharaoh. My father made me take an oath, saying, 'When I am dead, put me to rest in the place I have made ready for myself in the land of Canaan.' So now let me go and put my father in his last resting place. I will come back again." And Pharaoh said, "Go up and put your father to rest, as you gave your oath to him." So Yosef went up to put his father in his last resting place, and with him went all the servants of Pharaoh, and the chief men of his house, and all the chiefs of the land of Egypt. And all the family of Yosef, and his brothers and his father's people, only their little ones and their flocks and herds they did not take with them from the land of Goshen. And carriages went up with him, and horsemen, a great army. And they came to the grain floor of Atad, on the other side of Jordan, and there they gave the last honors to Yaakov with great and bitter sorrow, weeping for their father for 7 days. And when the people of the land, the people of Canaan, at the grain floor of Atad saw their grief, they said, "Great is the grief of the Egyptians." So the place was named Avel Mitzrayim, on the other side of Jordan. So his sons did as he had given them orders to do. For they took him into the land of Canaan, and put him to rest in the hollow rock in the field of Machpelah, which Abraham got with the field for a resting place from Ephron the Hittite at Mamre. And when his father had been put to rest, Yosef and his brothers and all who had gone with him went back to Egypt. Now after the death of their father, Yosef's brothers said to themselves, "It may be that Yosef's heart will be turned against us, and he will give us punishment for all the evil which we did to him." So they sent word to Yosef, saying, "Your father, before his death, gave us orders, saying, 'You are to say to Yosef, let the wrongdoing of your brothers be overlooked and the evil they did to you. Now, if it is your pleasure, let the sin of the servants of your father's God have forgiveness.'" And at these words Yosef was overcome with weeping. Then his brothers went, and falling at his feet, said, "Truly we are your servants." And Yosef said, "Have no fear. Am I in the place of God? As for you, it was in your mind to do me evil, but God has given a happy outcome, the salvation of numbers of people, as you see today. So now have no fear, for I will take care of you and your little ones." So he gave them comfort with kind words. Now Yosef and all his father's family went on living in Egypt, and the years of Yosef's life were 110. And Yosef saw Ephraim's children of the 3rd generation, and the children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, came to birth on Yosef's knees. Then Yosef said to his brothers, "The time of my death has come, but God will keep you in mind and take you out of this land into the land which he gave by his oath to Abraham and Yitzhak and Yaakov." Then Yosef made the children of Israel take an oath, saying, "God will certainly give effect to his word, and you are to take my bones away from here." So Yosef came to his death, being 110 years old, and they made his body ready, and he was put into a chest in Egypt. Exodus. Now these are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt. Every man and his family came with Yaakov: Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda, Yisachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All the offspring of Yaakov were 70 persons. And Yosef had come to Egypt before them. Then Yosef came to his end, and all his brothers, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fertile, increasing very greatly in numbers and in power, and the land was full of them. Now a new king came to power in Egypt, who had no knowledge of Yosef. And he said to his people, "See, the people of Israel are greater in number and in power than we are. Let us take care, for fear that their numbers may become even greater. And if there is war, they may be joined with those who are against us and make an attack on us and go up out of the land." So they put overseers of forced work over them, in order to make their strength less by the weight of their work. And they made store towns for Pharaoh, Pithom, and Ramses. But the more cruel they were to them, the more their number increased, till all the land was full of them. And the children of Israel were hated by the Egyptians, and they gave the children of Israel even harder work to do, and made their lives bitter with hard work, making building material and bricks, and doing all sorts of work in the fields under the hardest conditions. And the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew women who gave help at the time of childbirth, the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah, "When you are looking after the Hebrew women in childbirth, if it is a son, you are to put him to death, but if it is a daughter, she may go on living." But the women had the fear of God, and did not do as the king of Egypt had said, but let the male children go on living. And the king of Egypt sent for the women, and said to them, Why have you done this, and let the male children go on living?" And they said to Pharaoh, "Because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are strong, and the birth takes place before we come to them." And the blessing of God was on these women, and the people were increased in number and became very strong. And because the women who took care of the Hebrew mothers had the fear of God, he gave them families. And Pharaoh gave orders to all his people, saying, "Every son who comes to birth is to be put into the river, but every daughter may go on living." So we get to see some beautiful things happening at the end of Jacob and Joseph's life. I like to point out that as we get into Exodus chapter 1, there's such a stark contrast between the Pharaoh in Exodus and the Pharaoh at the one who loved Joseph. Because when Joseph asks to take Jacob's bones back to Canaan, Pharaoh says, "Yes, take him." And not only does he allow Joseph to leave and go bury his father in Canaan, but he sends chariots and horsemen, and this parade of pomp and circumstance, and all of Canaan gets to see Egypt grieving over Jacob. Like, there's such a strong unity between Jacob's descendants and the Egyptians at the end of Genesis. And then Exodus chapter 1, there became a Pharaoh who knew not Joseph, and it's such a stark contrast. All of a sudden the Israelites are the enemy. So it's nice to think what the relationship between Israel and Egypt could have been had the Pharaoh of Moses' time been like the Pharaoh of Joseph's time. So think about that a little bit as you have a wonderful day.